Chair, and thanks to all the witnesses for sharing your perspectives on the current situation for democracy and human rights defenders around the world. Particular thanks to Mr. Daliran and Dr.
Je remercie les témoins pour avoir partagé leur expérience. Ce sont des expériences qui nous touchent et nous partageons vos douleurs.
What happens to human rights defenders in Iran?
True, Mr. Chair. I apologize in advance. I may get emotional. I have firsthand been exposed and victimized. Just shortly after the revolution, from the inceptions, as a young teenager, watching that one early morning, knock on the door, going to open the door, and then all of a sudden, a group of military uniformed men coming to your home, going to the second floor and taking your father out of his bed with his underwear. And for 2 months following that, you not even know where he is. And then 4 years later, when he's released, this is a brief story of what he has told. Hanging them for days behind without any food and cutting their body in different places. And when they deny to give in, nailing their foot and leaving them for hours to bleed. That's an example of my first-hand experience. I can give you the story of my wife. As a young girl, taking his father from them just because he was part of the opposition party, taking him to a prison, not knowing where he is, and finally allowing the family to go and visit him for the last time. And then when they got the body, seeing 7 shotguns in his body, and then not allowing the family to mourn, not to have any events, and sorry, I'm going to pass those moments. I'm going to go to today. Just watching the videos that I'm sure is published on many platforms. It shows the brutality of this regime, how they're going to kill without hesitation. Anybody is trying to have a voice against their beliefs. If you allow me, I want to ask Dr. Paktel if he has any notes to add to my comments.
Great.
Go ahead, Dr. Paktel.
Sure. I would only add that this regime, unfortunately, rules through fear and through psychological manipulation of human rights defenders so that to silence them. And also they rely on a propaganda system to show the world the reality in a different way. One example of the lies that they use is a lot of the violence created during the protests in Iran have been shown to be caused by the regime itself. They sent people among peaceful protesters and asked them to escalate and put fire on trees and buildings and government places, and then they start shooting. That's the only thing that I have to add to this.
Thank you for that testimony. Ms. Trilsh talked about attempts to silence human rights defenders. You know, you're here today representing a very small community, the Iranian Canadian Cultural Society of Vancouver Island, and we live on the edge of Canada in a place that's very far from Iran. Has anyone, as representatives of that community, has anyone tried to silence members of our community?
True, Mr. Chair. Yes, there has been attempts. It hasn't been violent, but it has been different and mostly psychologically through use of platforms, through to use on disrespectful notes and comments. And that has been obvious that recently there has been few disappearings, one in Toronto just very recently. I don't think I should name them, but we have had similar situations that the regime has taken actions even within and inside Canada.
And in just 2 days, the Iranian regime will be 47 years old. Despite sanctions, despite protests, despite military action. Do you have any insight for us on why this regime persists and survives?
True, Mr. Chair. This is a regime that's based on extreme beliefs. They have many times portrayed that they are a divine, holy sender by God, that they are going to make the entire world cleansed. That's what they believe in. And then they allow themselves to do whatever it takes, violation of any human rights at any level, to dictate what they believe in. And we are talking about a group that they have the power, they have the machine guns deployed on the streets with the people behind those machine guns that either part of that extreme idea or they have to carry the orders, because if they don't, that would be disobey, and they usually declare a state of emergency, and they will be executed if they don't carry those orders. And on the other side, what we have is a people that only weapon they have is their pens to write, is their voice to speak, and is their fist to raise.
Just in the last few seconds that I have left, Mr. Jonan talked about Canada's convening power. How can Canada use its convening power to help in Iran?
Sorry, I'm emotional. Dr. Parkdale, would you elaborate on this?
Yes. One of the ways that Canada can help is by hearing the opposition, which I wanted to thank the members of this subcommittee for the opportunity. And the other way is to recognize the fact that this is not a regime to negotiate with. That's key, I believe. This is not a regime that will change through reform, through negotiation. This is a regime that has massacred its own people from its inception, and it's time for the world, including Canada, to take actions, concrete actions to protect people of Iran, not just by diplomatic soft efforts, but by listening to the people of Iran who are actually trying to make a regime change in Iran and to achieve the freedom and democracy that they deserve.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.